Take the simple case of Anna Urbanova's voice. In the context of the lobby, where the actress was struggling to rein in her hounds, the hoarseness of her voice had given the impression of an imperious young lady prone to shouting. Very well. But here, in Suite 208, in the company of charred lemons, French wine, and memories of the sea, her voice was revealed as that of a woman whose profession rarely allowed her the chance for repose, never mind the enjoyment of a decent meal. As the Count refilled their glasses, he was struck by a memory of his own that seemed in keeping with the conversation. "I spent a good part of my youth in the province of Nizhny Novgorod," he said, "which happens to be the world capital of the apple. In Nizhny Novgorod, there are not simply apple trees scattered about the countryside. There are forests of apple trees, forests as wild and ancient as Russia itself, in which apples grow in every colour of the rainbow, and in sizes ranging from a walnut to a cannonball." "I take it you ate your fair share of apples." "Oh, we'd find them tucked in our omelettes at breakfast, floating in our soups at lunch, and stuffed in our pheasants at dinner. Come Christmas, we had eaten every single variety the woods had to offer." The Count was about to lift his glass to toast the comprehensiveness of their apple-eating, when he waved a self-correcting finger. "Actually, there was one apple that we did not eat." The actress raised one of her bedeviling eyebrows. "Which?" "According to local law, hidden deep within the forest was a tree with apples as black as coal, and if you could find this tree and eat of its fruit, you could start your life anew." The Count took a generous drink of the Montrachet, pleased to have summoned this little folk-tale from the past. "So would you?" the actress asked. "Would I what?" "If you found that apple hidden in the forest, would you take a bite?" The Count put his glass on the table and shook his head. "There's certainly some allure to the idea of a fresh start, but how could I relinquish my memories of home, of my sister, of my school years?" The Count gestured to the table. "How could I relinquish my memory of this?" And Anna Urbanova, having put her napkin on her plate and pushed back her chair, came round the table, took the Count by the collar, and kissed him on the mouth. Ever since reading her note in the Shalyapin bar, the Count had felt one step behind Miss Urbanova. The casual reception in her suite, the candlelit dinner for two, the deboning of the fish followed by memories of childhood, he had not anticipated any one of these developments. Certainly he had been caught off guard by the kiss, and now here she was strolling into her bedroom, unbuttoning her blouse and letting it slip to the floor with a delicate whoosh. As a young man, the Count had prided himself on being one step ahead. The timely appearance, the apt expression, the anticipation of a need. To the Count, these had been the very hallmarks of the well-bred man. But under the circumstances, he discovered that being a step behind had merits of its own. For one, it was so much more relaxing. To be a step ahead in matters of romance requires constant vigilance. If one hopes to make a successful advance, one must be mindful of every utterance, attend to every gesture, and take note of every look. In other words, to be a step ahead in romance is exhausting. But to be a step behind? To be seduced? Why, that was a matter of leaning back in one's chair, sipping one's wine, and responding to a query with the very first thought that has popped into one's head. And yet, paradoxically, if being a step behind was more relaxing than being a step ahead, it was also more exciting. From his relaxed position, the one step behinder imagines that his evening with a new acquaintance will transpire like any other, with a little chit, a little chat, and a friendly good night at the door. But halfway through dinner, there is an unexpected compliment, and an accidental brushing of fingers against one's hand. There is a tender admission and a self-effacing laugh. then suddenly a kiss. From here, the surprises only grow in power and scope, such as when one discovers, as the blouse falls to the floor, that a back is as decorated with freckles as the skies are decorated with stars, or when, having slipped modestly under the covers, the sheets are cast aside and one finds oneself on one's back with a pair of hands pressing on one's chest and a pair of lips issuing breathless instructions. But while each one of these surprises inspires a new state of wonder, nothing can compare to the awe one experiences when, at 1 a.m, a woman rolling on her side utters unambiguously, "As you go, be sure to draw the curtains." Suffice it to say that once the Count's clothes had been gathered, the curtains were dutifully drawn. What's more, before he had tiptoed to the door half-dressed, he took a moment to ensure that the actress's ivory blouse had been picked off the floor and hung on its hanger. After all, as the Count himself had observed just hours before, the best-bred dogs belong in the surest hands.